At 4:47 p.m., Carolyn's phone lit up with a notification that stopped her breath. The email from Linda Ridd. Final closing documents. Action required. Your share is $500,000. It's already decided.
500,000. My share. As if I'd ever agreed to sell Dad's life's work.
She turned toward the mantel where Frank's photograph watched over the room. The man who'd built that company from a single van and a mop.
He survived pancreatic cancer long enough to make sure I'd be okay. And they think they can just erase him.
6 months since the funeral. 6 months of Linda, Brandon, and Stephanie acting like the business was already theirs.
A PDF. 1 day's notice. And they called it already decided.
The closing was scheduled for 10 a.m. the next morning. She had less than 18 hours to stop a $2 million sale she never authorized.
Number. I didn't spend my childhood learning this business just to let them sell it out from under me.
She picked up the framed photo of Frank, held it against her chest, and reached for her phone to dial the one person who knew every skeleton in the Callahan corporate closet.
Carolyn, it's been a while. Is everything okay?
No, Anthony. Linda is trying to sell Dad's company. The closing is tomorrow morning.
Sell without your consent? That's not possible. Did you sign anything?
I haven't signed a thing. They sent a PDF saying it's decided. My cut is $500 K.
Frank would never have wanted this. Give me an hour. I still have his original corporate file in storage.
Original file. Maybe there's something in there that can stop this.
Anthony hung up and walked to the back of his office, where a set of steel filing cabinets sat, rarely opened since Frank's death. He slid open a drawer labeled Callahan Inc., 1994, 2005, and lifted out a thick accordion folder, the paper edges yellowed with age.
Frank kept everything. If there's a way to block this sale, it's buried in here.
He began to scan the documents slowly, knowing that somewhere in those pages might be the key to saving Carolyn's legacy. If he could find it before 10 a.m. Half an hour into his search, Anthony's finger stopped on a thin document stapled at the corner, the paper so brittle it crinkled under his touch. The header read, Shareholder Agreement, 1994, Callahan Commercial Cleaning. Below it, a clause naming Carolyn Callahan, age 5, as sole minority shareholder with right of first refusal.
Right of first refusal. Frank locked this down when she was a child. They can't sell a thing without her signature.
He didn't waste a second. Phone in hand, he dialed Carolyn back.
Carolyn, I found it. A 1994 shareholder agreement your father signed when he founded the company.
What does that mean for the sale? Can they still go through with it?
The right of first refusal clause meant any sale or transfer required Carolyn's explicit written approval at the same price offered, a protection her father had built in 3 decades ago.
Linda, Brandon, and Stephanie never had the authority to sign that deal. Without your written consent, the sale is voidable.
Voidable. Dad protected me when I was 5 years old, and he never told me.
The agreement was never amended, still legally airtight, but the closing was in 12 hours. Carolyn had a weapon. Now she needed a plan. Anthony didn't stop at the shareholder agreement. He pulled up the probate database on his computer, searching for Frank's most recent will. There it was, a fully executed last will and testament, signed 8 months before Frank's death, leaving 100% of Callahan Commercial Cleaning to Carolyn. The will Linda had presented at probate was a revoked draft from a decade earlier, one she'd filed with a cold smile and a forged signature.
She submitted a will. Frank explicitly revoked. This crosses from greed into fraud.
He picked up the phone again. This time his voice was harder, a steel edge beneath the calm.
Carolyn, there's more. Frank updated his will 8 months before he died. You're the sole beneficiary.
Sole beneficiary. Then the will Linda used at probate
Was revoked. Null and void. Linda filed an expired draft. The company never legally passed to her.
It always belonged to me. Dad made sure of it, even at the end.
They now held two unbreakable proofs: the 1994 agreement and the real will. 12 hours until closing, and a room full of people who had no idea the ground was about to split open. Across town, Linda Callahan raised a glass of champagne under the chandelier of her dead husband's living room.
To a generous buyer and a clean exit, tomorrow, we'll all be richer.
Richer and free of that cleaning business stink. I am already picking out my new boat.
Stephanie didn't look up from her tablet, scrolling through a luxury real estate listing in the Caymans.
I am thinking beachfront. Something with a private dock, because why not?
The offer letter from Tremont Capital sat on the coffee table, the $2 million figure still crisp, still promising. 6 miles away, Carolyn stared at the same email on her phone, but her eyes no longer held shock. They held a blade.
Let them celebrate. By this time tomorrow, they'll be holding nothing but a stack of legal objections.
She picked up her phone and dialed Anthony one more time. No tremor in her voice now.
Anthony, it's time. We attend that closing meeting and tear it apart.
Carolyn pushed open the glass door of Callahan Commercial Cleaning, the familiar chime echoing in the empty lobby.
Carolyn, you shouldn't be here. Linda changed the locks on the office. Brandon said, you try to sabotage the sale.
I am not here to sabotage anything. I am here to claim what's mine.
Margaret hesitated, then glanced toward the hallway where Linda's office sat dark.
I have something for you. Frank made me keep the original agreement in the safe. He told me if anything ever happened, you'd need it.
She pressed a manila folder into Carolyn's hands, the edges of a yellow document visible inside.
The original 1994 agreement. With this, the buyer has to listen.
But Carolyn, if Linda finds out I helped you, she'll fire me. I've worked here 30 years.
Margaret, I won't let that happen. You'll have a job as long as this company exists, and I promise you it will.
With the original agreement now in her possession, Carolyn walked out into the morning light, a new fire in her chest. The closing was 3 hours away. Carolyn had barely pulled out of the company lot when her phone buzzed. Linda Callahan.
She's calling to see if I'll fold. She has no idea what I am holding. Linda, what do you want?
Carolyn, I know you're upset, but this is for the best. Sign the release, and your cut is $500,000. Clean and simple.
I'm not signing anything. The company was never yours to sell.
Don't be foolish. I'm offering you a way out. Fight this and you'll drown in legal bills.
Is that a threat?
It's a promise. You think you can walk into that closing and stop it? You have no idea what we're capable of.
Neither do you. Goodbye, Linda.
She tossed the phone onto the passenger seat. The manila folder sat beside it, silent, lethal, and ready. While Carolyn drove across town, Anthony unlocked a private room at First National Bank. He opened the safe deposit box. Frank had registered years ago and withdrew a long envelope. Inside, the last will and testament, stamped and sealed by the probate court, indisputable. Back at his office an hour later, the 1994 agreement and the real will lay side by side on his desk.
My father left me everything in 2 different ways.
This agreement alone voids any sale without your signature. The will confirms you own it all. This clause, right of first refusal, means the sale is void without your consent.
Then we make sure they see it before anyone signs anything.
We arrive unannounced, 15 minutes before the scheduled closing.
The clock on his desk read 9:47 p.m. 12 hours and 13 minutes until the room would explode. At 7:15 a.m., Anthony strode to the courthouse counter with a thick petition and the originals of Frank's documents.
I am filing an emergency motion to halt a fraudulent business sale scheduled for 10 a.m.
The duty judge reviewed the evidence within the hour, comparing the 1994 clause against the forged probate filing. The court hereby issues a temporary restraining order, The sale of Callahan Commercial Cleaning is stayed for 48 hours.
48 hours. That's all I need to undo years of their lies.
Linda will fight this. She'll argue the stay disrupts the business, but the law is on our side.
By 9 a.m., the buyer's legal team received the order. David Tremont canceled his flight to the closing. Linda's phone buzzed relentlessly, but she didn't answer because she was already en route to the closing, unaware the ground had shifted.
She'll find out when she walks into that empty room and sees our faces instead of a check.
The closing was suspended, the $2 million frozen, and the countdown to Carolyn's final strike had begun. That morning, Linda's phone rang with news of the temporary stay, and within the hour, Brandon and Stephanie were waiting outside Carolyn's apartment. Brandon cracked his knuckles. Stephanie tapped her heel, eyes narrow as headlights swept across the pavement. Carolyn's footsteps slowed when she saw them blocking her path.
You think you can pull a legal stunt and walk away? Drop the injunction, or we'll make your life hell.
I am not dropping anything. You had no right to sell.
Brandon grabbed her arm, squeezing hard enough to bruise.
He's trying to scare me. It won't work.
We'll tie you up in court for years. How much of that company will be left after legal fees?
Then you'll lose even more, because the company will be mine regardless.
A neighbor's porch light flicked on. Brandon released her, and Carolyn walked past them without looking back. At Tremont Capital, David Tremont slammed his fist on the desk. The faxed restraining order crumpled in his hand.
A $2 million deal held hostage by a decades-old scrap of paper. I don't have time for this.
His call connected to Linda, who answered with a voice already braced for impact.
Linda, get this mess sorted. If that stay isn't lifted by end of business, I am withdrawing my offer.
David, please. The kids are handling it. We'll have her signature by tonight, I promise.
The court cited a valid shareholder agreement. If the plaintiff has the original, this stay could become permanent.
Linda's hand trembled as she ended the call. Then she dialed Brandon with the fury of a cornered animal.
If that woman sinks this sale, we're left with nothing. No money, no company, nothing.
Meanwhile, in the Tremont boardroom, David and Laura stared at the clock, counting the hours until the stay expired.
We can't afford this kind of uncertainty. If they can't deliver a clean closing by Friday, we recommend pulling out.
The next morning, the courtroom benches were drawn like battle lines. Carolyn and Anthony on one side, Linda and her children on the other. Linda's attorney argued that the stay was strangling the company, costing thousands in lost revenue and jeopardizing client contracts. Then Anthony rose, holding the 1994 agreement like a relic, and placed it before the judge.
Your Honor, this agreement was never amended. My client's right of first refusal supersedes any sale. The so-called sellers had no authority.
The judge studied the clause, then looked up with a heavy sigh. The court will extend the temporary stay for 24 hours. A final hearing on the merits will be held tomorrow at 9 a.m. Both parties be prepared.
One more day. It's not a victory, but it's another day they can't steal from me.
This is outrageous. She's going to bleed us dry in legal fees while the company rots.
We'll be ready. Tomorrow, we settle this for good.
As the court officer called for order, Carolyn locked eyes with Linda, one side desperate, the other unyielding, knowing the next 24 hours would decide everything. The morning of the final hearing, Carolyn stood before her father's photograph. The 1994 agreement, and verified, was sealed inside a leather portfolio.
30 years ago, he gave me a shield. Today, I carry it into battle.
Anthony pulled up in his sedan, and they drove in silence past the familiar streets, the glass tower of Tremont Capital, cutting into the gray sky.
They're in there right now, expecting a signature. Instead, they'll get the truth.
Inside the elevator, the floor numbers ticked upward with a soft chime. Anthony adjusted his cufflinks. Carolyn checked the portfolio seal.
Once we're in there, let the documents speak. Don't give them the satisfaction of an argument.
I am not here to argue. I am here to take back what's mine. 30 more seconds. and the world they built on lies collapses.
The elevator chimed for the top floor. The doors slid open, revealing a long corridor of polished marble and a single door at the end, bearing a brass nameplate. Carolyn stepped out first. The portfolio clutched to her chest, Anthony a shadow at her side. The closing was about to begin. Carolyn pushed the boardroom door open. No knock, no pause, her silhouette cutting the fluorescent glare. Every head turned. Linda's champagne froze inches from her lips. Brandon's smug grin evaporated.
What is she doing here? This is a private closing. Someone remove her.
The only people who should be removed are those who filed a revoked will to sell what they never owned.
He placed the 1994 shareholder agreement and the probate authenticated will in front of Laura Chen.
This clause, right of first refusal, requires Carolyn Callahan's written consent. Was she ever consulted?
I was not. They emailed me a PDF the day before closing, calling it already decided.
David, we need to confer privately. This changes the entire transaction.
Linda's champagne glass hit the table with a sharp crack, the liquid sloshing onto the unsigned purchase agreement.
We'll wait. Take all the time you need. But the law here is clear.
Laura Chen leaned toward David Tremont, her whisper slicing through the tension like a knife.
If the 1994 agreement is authentic, and that paper looks painfully real, the sellers never had title to transfer. This deal is voidable.
David's expression shifted from skepticism to cold fury. He nodded once, curt.
5-minute recess. Laura in my office now.
They exited without another word, the glass door of the adjoining office clicking shut behind them. The boardroom descended into a brittle quiet, the air so thick it felt like breathing glass under the mahogany table. Carolyn's hand shook for a heartbeat before she pressed it flat against her thigh.
Dad, if you can see this, I'm fighting for us. I won't let them erase you.
Linda's glare bored into the closed door, her shattered glass still dripping onto the soaked purchase agreement, the ink blurring into a stain.
Whatever they decide, the truth is on the table. And truth has a way of sticking.
You selfish, ungrateful girl. Frank would be ashamed of what you are doing to this family.
Ashamed? He'd roll over in his grave. You are nothing but a parasite holding on to a dead man's name.
You were never one of us, and now you are a traitor to your own blood.
Let them scream. Every word is just proof. They never deserved that name.
We gave you a home. We shared our lives with you. And you repay us with this courtroom circus?
You gave me a roof and then tried to sell the house I was born into. That's not family, that's theft.
You think the courts will save you? We'll drag this through every appeal. You'll be bankrupt before you win.
If you have the money. Because after today, you won't see a dime from this company.
Silence slammed down like a gavel. Then the boardroom door swung open. David Tremont and Laura Chen stepping back inside, their faces carved from stone. No one spoke. The buyer had reached a decision, and the next 10 seconds would decide whose world would shatter.
Based on the 1994 agreement and the authenticated will, Tremont Capital cannot proceed with the purchase. The sale is void.
I want every cent of my earnest money returned by end of day. This deal is dead.
No. This is a mistake. We had a signed deal. She's lying. She's always been a liar.
You'll hear from our lawyers. This isn't over. We'll sue you into the ground, Carolyn.
Sue me. You have no standing. The law is finally on my side.
They'll rant for hours, but the documents don't lie. Frank's daughter, just one.
This can't be legal. We had the will. We had everything. You must have forged something.
David Tremont snapped his briefcase shut and strode out, Laura Chen following without a backward glance. The word void still hung in the air like smoke, suffocating every protest. The boardroom erupted into a storm of accusations, tears, and shattered glass. A $2 million dream dissolving into a puddle of champagne and regret. Linda stumbled into the echoing lobby, her scream ricocheting off the marble like shattered glass.
She stole everything. That conniving snake stole my husband's company from his own widow.
This is not over, Carolyn. We'll see you in court. False representation, fraud, everything.
Read the statute. Section 14B. You signed a contract you had no legal capacity to execute. Any lawsuit will be dismissed.
Brandon crumpled the statute in his fist, veins bulging, but he didn't speak because the law had already spoken.
You'll regret this, Carolyn. We'll make sure everyone knows what kind of monster you are.
Tell them. Tell everyone how you tried to sell a company you never owned. See how much sympathy you get.
Linda collapsed onto a bench, sobbing into her hands as her children stood frozen in the wreckage of their scheme.
This is what justice looks like, not vengeance. Just the truth finally catching up.
Behind her, the glass doors of Tremont Capital sealed shut on a shattered family and avoided sale, carrying away $2 million that would never be theirs. The boardroom was empty now, the only sound the hum of fluorescent lights and the distant echo of Linda's sobs. Carolyn walked to the head of the table and picked up the framed photograph of her father she carried into battle.
We won, Dad. They'll never touch what you built again.
She set the photo down gently and pulled out her phone, dialing Anthony before the adrenaline faded.
Anthony, start the paperwork. I am taking over as CEO effective immediately.
I've had the forms ready since 1994. Carolyn, it's about time.
Hours later, Carolyn stood in her father's original office, the room preserved like a museum, his first mop, the original logo, the leather chair worn from decades of use. She rested her palm on the back of the old chair, the leather cool and familiar.
I'll bring it back, Dad. Stronger than ever, and I'll do it in your name.
The company was hers now, not just on paper, but in every floorboard and fiber of that building. And she would not let it fall. 6 months later, the old Callahan commercial cleaning sign was replaced by a gleaming Callahan Legacy Solutions logo, as the entire crew applauded.
Dad built this with one van. Now we run a fleet, and every van carries his name.
She expanded into medical cleaning and post-construction, doubling the blue-collar workforce Margaret had helped her protect.
This contract brings us into 5 new districts. We're not just surviving, we're leading.
Revenue had already climbed 46%, and the projection for next year pointed past the 4 million mark. A new fleet of vans, freshly painted, rolled out of the lot each morning, the name Callahan visible from blocks away. Every uniform now bore the same name Linda had tried to erase, a name now stitched over every heart. The same employees who had feared layoffs under Linda now had expanded benefits and a CEO who knew their names.
They almost sold my father's legacy for pocket change. Now this company feeds 70 families, and it's just the beginning.
The building itself seemed to stand straighter, a monument not just to success, but to survival. In the fall, Carolyn stood at a podium in the community college auditorium where Linda had once worked as an administrator.
My father believed that hard work should open doors. This scholarship ensures his name opens them forever.
The ceremonial check read $25,000, the first of an annual endowment that would quietly give back to the college where Linda once held a clipboard.
This scholarship is for students who work hard and dream bigger than their circumstances, just like he did.
40 feet away, in a cubicle in the administration wing, Linda Callahan looked up from her monitor. The headline read, Callahan Legacy Solutions establishes memorial scholarship at local college.
Right here, where I work. She planted his name right where I have to see it every day.
Linda sat motionless, the weight of her own irrelevance settling into the silence around her.
She tried to erase him. Now his name will outlive her bitterness.
The scholarship was not vengeance. It was a legacy, and the final quiet proof that Linda had lost everything except the daily reminder of that fact. Late in the evening, Carolyn sat alone in her father's preserved office, the founder plaque catching the lamplight.
I hope you can see this, Dad. Every promise I made, I kept.
The next morning, she placed a single white rose on his grave, the headstone reading, Beloved Father and Founder.
Rest easy. Your name won't ever be forgotten.
In his own office, Anthony lifted a teacup toward a framed copy of the 1994 agreement, a quiet toast to an old friend. Outside Callahan Legacy Solutions, the parking lot was full, the flags snapping in the morning breeze. A cleaning van rolled past. "We clean with care," gleaming on its side.
This is what he built. Not just a business, a family.
She stood behind the glass door, etched with the new logo, her reflection calm and steady. The sun rose over the building, and Carolyn knew her father's legacy was alive in every brick, every employee, every name it now carried.